is Ma'am Julina Reyes, and I'm going to lead your Human Resource Management Chapter. So for today's discussion, we're going to discuss the development of human resource. So I hope that you're going to listen carefully because after this video, we're going to have an activity. So let's proceed.
So we're going to discuss now the challenges of human resource. So this discussion is a continuation of the last period's discussion. So the challenge of human resource. The first challenge would be the challenges of global community. When we're talking about the challenges of global community, we're talking about increasingly the organizations are finding out how are they going to survive and compete with organization, not only here in our place or of operation but also globally. So we're talking about here about businesses who are venting out for their different business operation to different countries or globally. Like for example, the corporations like McDonald's and Jollibee, and also other industries who are now finding their way out on the local business operations alone, but also joining the global. Why? Because it will give them wider range of portfolio so that they could be safe from any other risk. Like for example, if there are local risks or recessions within local businesses, at least they can vent out for any other resources like going globally. So companies need to compete and defend not only their local markets and customers, they must broaden their scope to encompass global market. Why why this global community has become a challenge of human resource, and what is the connection of this global challenge to human resources? Actually, they are the main topic when we're talking about global community, because once a community becomes global, it will encounter more problems. Why? Because locally, when we are going to deal with different kind of people, we are dealing with their different attitudes, personalities, and behavior. But globally, we're dealing with their own cultures. So there are different cultures there that we need to study. There are different policies there that we need to understand. Like for example, how is the minimum rate for their workers? Didn't you know that why many companies are going global and choosing Philippines um, as their market, okay, or their new venture? Because here in the Philippines, our minimum rate is, or the labor rate is so small, okay, that they really get the value that we offer for them. So it means that what we offer is valuable for them. That is why they choose to to place their business here. So what is the challenges now, right? So like for example, if those companies or those businesses venture here in the Philippines, they need to adapt with our culture. Like for example, our Filipino time. A lot of us are good, okay, on executing the Filipino time, right? So it is part of the culture. How about the bahala na habit, or bahala na si Batman habit, right? So these are the some cultures that they need to understand. Also, of course, we don't just have a negative culture. We also have a positive culture that they also need to know to be able to use that as a strength for them. Like for example, we're really hardworking. We're really passionate in everything we do. We're hospitable. So these are the cultures that they need to know to be able to maximize their human resources. So, same with us. Like, for example, the company Jollibee is going global. So, what the company needs to do is to study where is the place they're going to establish their business. They need to know the benefits, the policies, the cultures, and how are they going to manage people, right? So, being the company deciding to go global is also a big challenge for human resource. It's because we need to understand the people in every places that we will go, right? So that is why challenges of global community is part of the challenge of human resource. The second challenge is the stockholder challenge or the stockholders challenge. So in live discussion, I asked your classmates or I asked all of you what is stockholders. So in here, I'm just going to explain again what is stockholder. When we're talking about stockholder, we're talking about the owners, we're talking about the investors who have a share or certificate of ownership in the business. So remember this, when we're talking about stockholders, they are the owner, whether they are the real owner or they invested on that business. While we're talking about stakeholders, we're talking about any people that are affected on the business operations. So, who are those people who are affected on the business operation? It could be, first, of course, the owner. So, the owners, stockholders are also an example of stakeholder. Second, of course, our customers. They are really affected on everything that we offer to them. So, they're also considered as our stakeholders. Also, our stakeholder is also our employees, right? So everything that we will do will affect the stability of job of your employee, the increase of salaries that they will get, all right? So stakeholder, employee is also an example. And also the community that we belong. So like for example, if we are in Lyceum or the company Lyceum Northwestern University, its community is in Tapwak District, Dagupan City. So the community is affected, all right, on the business operation of the company. So what are we talking about stockholders challenge here? So, in our module, it says that the key to success in today's business environment is to meet the investors' need. So again, who are the investors? They are the stockholders. Okay? So stockholders or the shareholders. They are the same. They are synonymous. So when we're talking about business environment, to be able to grow your business or expand your business, you really need to acquire or persuade investors. How are you going to persuade them is to meet their needs. Okay? These stakeholders are the customers, employees, and community where the enterprise operates. So we're also saying that we need to we need to meet the needs not only for the stockholders but also for the stakeholders. And again, the stakeholders are the customers, employees, and community where the enterprise operates. The companies are challenged to reach financial objectives through meeting customer needs and employees' needs. So satisfied customers are assets that will sustain company growth and financial stability. So in here, we are talking about challenge of human resource with regards of their stockholders because they are caught, okay, companies are caught between the stockholder and the stakeholder. Of course, every company wanted to meet the needs of the stockholder, the need of a stockholder of or an owner wants to have a higher profit, but the employee on the other hand, the employee or the stakeholder and the customer needs, okay, not just a higher profit, but they wanted to have good benefits, right? If you're an employee, sometimes you don't really care about the profit. You really care about your salary. So it could be a disadvantage between the stockholder and the stakeholder. Why? Because the stockholder wanted to have a higher profit, and then the employee wanted to have a higher salary. If you give this the stockholders what he wanted, then you should cut off some salary so that it will add up to the expenses. So on the other hand, if you give what the customer wanted, you give him or her or them a higher salary, then you would expect to have lower profit. So what is the solution here? Solution here, given by our book, is to meet the customer's need, because the customer's need will be able to help us to satisfy not only the profit but also the needs of salary increase for our employees. So the challenge there is, how are we going to give higher salary or employee benefits to our customer without disregarding the needs of our stockholders? Okay? And then the number 3 challenge is the challenge of productivity. When we're talking about the challenge of productivity, it says here that as a global technology is increasing, the challenge to greater productivity. So why? Why does the global technology increases the challenge of productivity or greater productivity? If we are going to observe, we're going to see that human resources became more smarter workers with the aid of computer-aided machines, internets, and expert system. They produce high-quality products that are demanded by the world market. The introduction of this new technology needs the reconfiguration of the employees' work design, training, program, and reward system. So, why does the increase of global technology increase the challenge of productivity or greater productivity? This is because since there are so many gadgets, right, technologies, the internet that are available, sometimes the human resource are disregarded. So there are so many news saying that after 20 years, accountants, financial analysts, marketers are not needed anymore because the robot can do it. Do you believe in that? All right. So it was really a big challenge for human resource, for the human resources. Why? Because of this, the links of high productivity. First, human resources and capabilities. Okay, and the human resource capabilities are viable by buying a technology, right? So there will come a time that human resources are replaceable by technology. So that what other companies are thinking. But I don't believe in that. Human resource can never be replaced. Maybe some other tasks can be done through computers or internet conveniently, but we still need someone who can operate, who can strategically think, and who can serve customers with delight. Okay? So how are we going to have a high productivity in the workplace? So as we're saying that there is a challenge of productivity, it is because of high technology. Yes, the work becomes so much easier. It's because of the technology available, like the internet, right? Like for example, before having computer, they tend to write and the typewriter, and when they commit mistakes, it was really hard to erase. Not now. There's a delete button that you can, or clear button that easily erase all the transactions that you need to do. So when we're talking about how are we going to to increase the productivity? It is because since the technologies are helping, okay, the employees, the tendency is employees tend to be lax, they tend not to be productive. So how are we going to link, okay, how are we going to think of ways to link the high productivity? So again, our A is human resources and capabilities. If you are capable enough, if you know the capabilities that you have, you will have um the strength or the competence within yourself that I'm going to do this job because only I can do this, not the computer, not anyone else, only me. So when you know your capabilities, when you know yourself, when you know that you are an asset of this company, then it will help you to have a high productivity. So the first thing that you need to do, you need to have is your capabilities and of course your competence within yourself. Okay, so now let's go to the letter B. It says new technology and opportunities. So why does we say that, yeah, the new technology is now a link to productivity when we're saying that having high technology leads to a greater challenge in productivity? So it only says that it is a great, it uh, it produces greater challenge, but it doesn't mean that it does not link to high productivity, because computers, internets, and technologies can lead to higher productivity if it gives us opportunity to be more of ourselves. Okay, so like for example, me as a teacher, because of the new technology, I am more productive. Why? Because I can do this such things. Okay? In a whiteboard, if I'm going to write these things on a whiteboard, I'll only create maybe in a one day, I can only create this. How about the other slides? How about if I have 8 subjects? I have to prepare everything and do something like this. Then, how about my productivity, right? So, because of this new technology, it helps me to be more productive. It helps me to be more of myself because I use this as an opportunity to be more productive. So, it has a great challenge because sometimes this technology doesn't help me because I felt like I just need to download. If I downloaded a PowerPoint presentation coming from other teachers or instructors, then I'm done. So I won't feel so productive anymore because I did not do the task. I just copied, right? So that is the challenge, okay, of productivity when we are using technologies. Even you as a student, right? Like having greater technologies or greater number of technologies really challenge your productivity. Sometimes those technologies really hinders your productivity. Of course, the social media, number one, and then the gaming sites, right? So like Among Us and Mobile Legends, right? So it can really affect, it can really challenge your productivity. But if you use it right, the new technologies and opportunities can link to higher productivity. And letter C, let's go to the efficient work structure and company policies. So this means that an employee could have a high productivity if the efficient work structure is made. Okay, so it means that regarding the time, schedule, and flexible working hours, if we give them the right amount of that efficient work structure, then they can be more productive. And also about our company policies, if we are strict regarding our policies, then they will be productive. So what if, okay, the policies are not clear. The employees doesn't know what to do, or even though you are telling to them to do this, they can't see any result or any impact if they do something like this. Like for example, there are so many employees that I know saying, "Why would I do this? If I do this, I am not gonna have any extra pay. This is not my work. I will not do it." Okay? That is a mentality. It's the mentality of that comes from the poor company policies regarding the tasks that they need to do or that they need to accomplish. Alright, so let's now go to the second slide. Okay, we're now going to discuss the contributing factors. Among the factors that have contributed to the growth of personal management in the Philippines are the following. Okay? First, increasing complexity of business operation. Please go to your module on page 4 and let us read the meaning of increasing complexity one by one. So sabi dito, the post-war period saw the birth of big corporation where the volume and variety of operation and the size of the labor force demanded specialization in management. So after the post-war period, there are big companies that sprout all over. So we have now volume or variety of operation and the sizes of labor force demanded specialization in management. So it is because of it is because after the post-war period or the war period, the businesses now are continually gaining, okay, or continually um, growing or developing themselves. This means that if there are so many businesses, there are so many variety of businesses, the business operation now is more difficult to execute. That is why they need to have a proper management. Of course, on the labor force. When we say labor force, these are the persons or people, okay, that are doing all the tasks. Okay? So this labor force need to have an specialization of management in which we call human resource management. The personal specialist was called upon to formulate and carry out the organization's personnel policies and programs. So, the human resource management or the specialized labor force management deals only with how are we going to manage people. So, because of many variety of businesses, right? There is a complexity on how are we going to manage different kinds of people, especially for those big corporation having 1,000 plus employees. So how are you going to manage all of that? How are you going to give them the salary that they deserve? How are you going to um, give feedbacks to everything that they do? So you need to have, okay, a management system, a specialized management system specializing in labor force or what we call today as human resource management. Okay, so now we're going to the government regulation and labor laws. Again, on the page 4, it says there, in order to safeguard the workers' interests, especially those related wages, working condition, job security, and health, the government deemed it wise to enact a number of labor laws and government regulation. So since now the government is seeing that there is really a problem regarding how other companies um, are executing on how are they going to manage their resources. They made now so many laws and regulations regarding how um, company manage his or her own human resources. Like for example, the um, job security, how long, the contract, the health, the government, and working conditions of these persons. Are they safe? Are they having enough salary for themselves? Right? So, because of this government regulation, okay, among such laws are like for example, yung mga laws natin on woman and child labor law, the minimum wage law, the 8-hour labor law, and the Industrial Peace Act of 1953, and several other labor social laws which are embodied in the Labor Code of the Philippines and is implementing rules and regulation that took effect on November 1, 1974. So, itong mga law na ito, okay, these are the laws that are needed to be abide by the companies, because if they will not abide from these laws, there is a penalty for them, and no company would like to be in court just because of this. So compliance with these laws, not to mention the need to resecure permits, compile statistics, and make various reports on the government agency, become part of the service of personnel department. So when you are into human resource management, you really need to be equipped. Why? Because there are so many papers that you need to do. Like for example, how are you going to secure permit? So when we are securing permit, it means that we are securing permit to hire different kinds of persons. So it is our job to secure permit for them. Second is when we're compiling statistics and make various reports on the government agencies regarding the number of employees that we have, their satisfactions, their conditions, their salary rate, their job description, how is the hiring process. So, right? So these laws and regulation from the government uh, makes a clear makes a clear statement that every growing company needs to have a human resource management team, or else they will be they will not be able to abide, okay, or comply with the with so much laws and regulation imposed by the government. Now let's go to the three, okay, which is the growth of labor unions. The growth of labor unions says that the passage of Industrial Peace Act of 1953, okay, please remember this, the passage of IPA, IPA, Industrial Peace Act of 1953, otherwise known as the Magna Carta or of Labor. It triggered the organization of labor unions and strengthening of the workers' bargaining power. Collective bargaining and negotiations and the administration of unions contract may be handled with the technical resources of personnel department. So, when we're talking about this Magna Carta of Labor triggered the organization of labor unions. When we say labor unions, it is an organization of employees. Okay? So when we're talking about unions, they're a group of people with same level, right, of positions in life. So labor union, it means an organization of employees or people doing labor. So this it strengthens the labor unions, okay, to have a bargaining power. Again, when we're talking about bargaining power, it is the ability to negotiate. Okay? So before, the labor unions or the employees don't have any vote vote or decision making power, but now, because of the Magna Carta of Labor, okay, or the Industrial Peace of Act of 1953, they have now the ability, okay, to they have now ability to bargain. So they just don't say yes, 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 but they have the ability to question. They have the ability to um, say what they want. It's because they are now have the bargaining power. So These collective bargaining power negotiations in the resources of personnel department, with the passage of the new law making relations department, becomes very important. So it means that because of the bargaining power of the labor unions, the human resource or the um, personal management department should always be ready. Why? Because if we are not ready, this labor union are really powerful. They can bargain what they wanted, right? So what if the labor unions um wanted to have an increase in the salary and you cannot give it because you're still not able? How will you defend yourself, right? So this is the use of the human resource management. That team will handle the labor unions and talk to them how are they going to be satisfied on the services that we are giving. So if we don't have a human resource management department, then it would be really hard to negotiate to the labor labor unions. All right. So next is we're now going to talk about the influx of new concepts in management. So when we say influx of new concepts, we're talking about the employee welfare concept is not new, but it's not nature. But its nature has changed from one of paternalism to the employer's right through practices that have become institutional. So when we're talking about employee welfare, so in Tagalog, pangangalaga ay sa mga empleyado natin. When we're talking about it, it's not new in the human resource management department or any parts or operation of the business. Why? Because the nature of it, eh, has been familiar for everyone. Of course, we wanted to have a good welfare, right? But the problem is the nature of welfare of personal welfare or employee welfare are changed over the time. So employee benefits have become varied and far-reaching, making their administration a complex function. So the facilities of personal department are here again to utilize or to handle such program. So again, because the benefits and the welfares, like for example, the SSS benefits, the Pag-ibig, PhilHealth, don't you know that the HR department are responsible for arranging all of them? The teen, okay? So all of them are responsibilities of the human resource management team or my department. So, okay, there are so many tasks that the human resource is responsible of. And they are the contributing factors why we really need to have human resource management department in our organization. That is it for today's discussion. Thank you everyone for tuning in.